In the early 1980s, two giants stood side by side along the Mississippi River in East Moline, Illinois. International Harvester and John Deere. Their combine plants were practically neighbors. Their engineers likely ate at the same diners. Yet inside those walls, two very different visions of harvesting were taking shape. Hello, I'm Ryan, and welcome to Legendary Tractors. It was a time of transformation and turmoil. The farm crisis was squeezing rural America, interest rates were climbing, and few farmers could afford new iron. But those who could were faced with a choice that went far beyond color. It was a choice between conventional and rotary, between tradition and revolution. International Harvester was still reeling from its devastating 1979-80 labor strike, a 172-day shutdown that crippled production and drained finances. Deere, meanwhile, was steady but cautious, carefully investing while watching market demand evaporate. Between them, the two companies were fighting not for only market share, but for survival itself. Yet, their design philosophies couldn't have been more different. The IH Axial-Flow combine, introduced in 1977, was a revolution hidden under red sheet metal. While traditional combines relied on a transverse cylinder and straw walkers, the Axial-Flow's single longitudinal rotor threshed and separated crop in one continuous motion. The brochure proclaimed, "Harvest more of what you grow," and they meant it. The rotor replaced 10 moving parts, simplified drives, and nearly eliminated the grain losses that plagued conventional designs. The lineup covered nearly every need, from the small 1420 with its 124 horsepower engine and 125 bushel grain tank to the mighty 1480 pushing 210 horses and holding over 200 bushels. There was even a pull-type version, the 1480, for farmers who couldn't justify a self-propelled unit. And while IH's pages were bold and urgent, Deere's told a different story, one of quiet confidence and measured refinement. Just on the road, Deere's engineers were perfecting their own line, the Titan II series. These machines, the 4420 through the 8820, represented the culmination of decades of conventional combine refinement. Deere's Titan II brochure told a different story. Its pages were cooler, cleaner, with bright backgrounds. The 8820 Titan II was Deere's flagship. 225 horsepower from a turbocharged and air-cooled 466 cubic inch diesel with a 222 bushel grain tank that could unload in under 2 minutes. Deere touted up to 15% more total capacity thanks to refinement in the cleaning and separating systems. Their cutaway illustrations were spectacular, likely the work of the Henry Dreyfuss design firm, who gave Deere its timeless aesthetic. This drawing of the 8820 Titan II is pure industrial art, a machine dissected with surgical pride. Deere didn't just shout about revolution, it whispered about refinement. Brochures from this era were more than sales tools. They were manifestos. The IH Axial-Flow brochure feels urgent, almost defiant. Bold headlines promise you'll harvest more of what you grow, as if every bushel mattered. The imagery and the discussions, even a page that shares information about a 5-row corn head, suggests a company trying to fit itself to every farm, every acre, every possibility. It's as if IH was saying, we can do it all. The text leans technical. Pictures of the rotor, specifications, and service panels you can reach without crawling under the machine. It's confident, but you can sense the urgency behind it. A company betting everything on a rotor. As a collector, you notice the paperweight. Deere's is heavier. The fonts. IH's is bold. And even the photography. IH's Kodachrome colors pop like a hot July field. Deere's tones are controlled and cool. Their machines posed against golden green and blue sky. Same Midwest sunlight, two very different stories. Together, these brochures capture the last moment when marketing was as mechanical as the machines themselves, before computers and corporate mergers flattened everything into a single font. They were promises printed on paper. One promised the future, the other promised forever. Deere didn't sell change. It sold consistency. The text reads up to 15% more total capacity, supported by another immaculate cutaway drawing. Part engineering, part artwork. Everything about it speaks to confidence. Clear photography, balanced layout, and just enough technical detail to show progress without bragging. The long design lineage of Henry Dreyfuss is still visible here. Simple lines, clarity of purpose, and precision over drama. The brochure's tone fits its time. In an era of high interest rates and low morale, Deere promised steady ground. The golden wheat, green steel, and open bright sky created a sense of continuity. The idea that even if the world changed, your combine wouldn't. As a collector, you can feel that quiet assurance in every page. This wasn't marketing noise. It was confidence rendered in ink and color. And inside that same sense of purpose, Deere refined not just the machine, but the place where the operator lived, the cab. Both companies invested heavily in operator comfort, an overlooked battleground in the 1970s and 80s. IH promoted its control center, 58 inches wide, mounted on isomount isolators, soundproofed with digital tachometers and fingertip electro-hydraulic controls. Deere countered with its Soundguard styled cab, air-conditioned, pressurized, with the familiar black interior and color-coded controls. IH even boasted an optional 8-track stereo and CB radio, a reminder that long harvest days could get lonely. IH offered a vast array of headers, from the 810 rigid cutter bar for small grains to the 820 flexible header that could cut as low as 1.5 inches, saving more soybeans. The company even offered 5-row corn heads, an eyeball option for 36 and 40-inch rows. Deere, meanwhile, refined its row crop head and variable speed feeder house, showing its advantage in clean feeding and high capacity. Deere proudly featured a big truck partner in its brochure, with a Kenworth W900A on the cover. From time to time, trucks such as this one are still seen hauling grain here in western New York, but by and large, they have given way to grain carts and semis. It's a pity that IH did not include a truck in their brochure, which certainly seems like an oversight, considering they built trucks like this Transtar at the time. In 1980, an IH 1480 listed for about $72,000, roughly $286,000 today. A modern Case IH Axial-Flow 6160 starts around $689,000, despite being only about 30% larger. The technology, yield monitors, GPS steering, better hydraulics explains part of that increase. But there's also scale. Fewer farmers, bigger farms, and higher fixed costs mean fewer but far more sophisticated machines. Nearly every modern combine, Deere's S-Series included, now uses a rotary or hybrid rotary design. In 1999, Deere's S-Series was their quiet acknowledgement that IH had been right all along. The rivalry between International Harvester and John Deere was never just about machinery. It was about place and people. In 1926, International Harvester purchased an 83-acre tract in East Moline, Illinois, from the Moline Plow Company for $90,000. As an interesting side note, that Moline Plow Company would go on to be Minneapolis Moline. By 1929, the first combines were rolling off the line. The site would eventually grow to 156 acres, with more than 2.4 million square feet under roof. At its peak, over 4,300 workers built 40 to 50 combines per day, along with corn pickers, grain headers, and forage harvesters. For decades, East Moline was a city within a city, a world of its own beneath 14-foot ceilings, where conveyors couldn't reach and human hands kept the lines moving. But by the late 1970s, the same global forces that shaped agriculture began to unravel it. The grain embargo of 1980, skyrocketing interest rates, and falling land values all took their toll. Deere and Harvester together slashed their workforce in half, from 22,000 workers in 1979 to 11,000 by 1984. For many in the Quad Cities, the crisis wasn't just economic, it was personal. Families that had worked generations under the same roof watched those roofs come on down. International Harvester's East Moline Works survived the 1985 merger with Case, continuing under Case IH and later CNH Global, but the writing was on the wall. In August 2004, after 75 years of combine production, the final red machines left the line. Within a year, the plant was gone, replaced by weeds and concrete slabs. Yet across town, the story took a different turn. Just a few miles away, John Deere's Harvester Works, still standing at 1100 10th Street, East Moline, continues to build some of the most advanced combines in the world. Deere calls it the home of harvesting excellence, a phrase that still appears on their official website today. From that same city on the banks of the Mississippi, the hum of production still rises. One legacy ended, another endures. The 1980s were tough years to sell combines. Interest rates soared, grain prices crashed, and for many farmers, used machines were the only option. Yet out of that struggle came two machines that defined an era. The IH Axial-Flow proved that simplicity could outperform complexity. The Deere Titan II proved that refinement could still hold its own against revolution. They were born of rivalry, shaped by crisis, and engineered by some of the best minds East Moline ever knew. In the end, these weren't just machines, they were symbols of resilience. International's gamble on the rotor design would survive its corporate collapse and live on under Case IH. Deere, ever steady, would adapt and evolve. And somewhere along that river in Illinois, the ghost of two rival engineering teams might still nod in mutual respect, for each found a different way to harvest the same dream. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you here next time on Legendary Tractors. I hope that you have a great day.